On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Well, it is Wednesday when I'm posting this review, and I'm wearing pink, so... With the musical remake of Mean Girls hitting theaters this weekend, I wanted to revisit the original, which came out in 2004. It will be celebrating its 20th anniversary by this April. And it's about a teenage girl named Katie who has been homeschooled in Africa most of her life, but then her parents moved her back to the States, so it is her first time being in an actual public school. But the worst place to start is high school. On her first day of school, she struggles to find a group of friends to latch onto until she latches onto two friends that school her on the hierarchy of high school. But then she stumbles across the Plastics, which is these three teenage girls who are superficial, materialistic, and the most popular girls in the school. They take Katie under their wing, teach her to become a plastic, but then the head plastic double crosses Katie, and now Katie goes back with her other two friends to get revenge, ruin her life, until Katie is eventually the head plastic. Now, like I said, this came out in 2004. I was in middle school when this film came out, and it came out in some ways during the height of Lindsay Lohan's acting career. But I remember when this came out, it was a huge hit. Everybody loved this movie. But in the 20 years since this film came out, it's gained an even bigger following. It is a modern, iconic teen movie. And in truth, it is. In fact, it is probably one of my favorite movies of all time. Well, favorite teen movies of all time. But it's been a long time since I've seen this film, so I was curious as to how I feel about this film as an adult. And this movie is a lot funnier than I remember. Part of this is due to the writing from Tina Fey, who wrote the screenplay for this film, which is based off of a book that nobody's probably never read or seen. But Tina Fey, she took that book and added a bit more comedic elements to it and put a little spice into it, and it is a modern teen classic. And she does that by pretty much taking, I guess, her own experiences in high school and putting this exaggerated version of what high school would be like for a teenage girl. And what I also like about this movie, now that I'm watching it with adult eyes, is most teen movies are like romantic comedies, but this is not really, it's one of those teen comedies where it's not your typical teen romantic comedy, but it's more so a teen comedy about a teenage girl that's going through high school, and it's her first time in a public school, and she's learning pretty much the whole hierarchy of high school and how there's different cliques. You have the smart Asians, the cool blacks, the nerdy people, and the math nerds, and you just have all these different cliques, and she's trying to figure out where she fits in, especially for someone who's been homeschooled most of her life. And then when she comes across the popular kids, they take her under her wing, and then she basically infiltrates them, and then she comes to find out that being the most popular person isn't what it's really cooped up to be. The fact that there really is an actual romance in this movie is almost secondary to the actual plot of the movie. And of course, the cast of this movie make this film. You have Lindsay Lohan, who plays Katie, and like I said, this movie came out during the height of her career, before her career started to take a bit of a turn, but luckily she's in a better place than she was years ago. But Mean Girls is definitely one of Lindsay Lohan's most iconic films that she is most well known for, and partially because this movie came out at a time where she was still known as one of the Disney kids, and in a way this movie helped her break away from that. Then you have Rachel McAdams playing Regina George, who is the head plastic, and this is, I don't know what she did before she made this movie, but this is one of her earliest roles. And she came out with this movie in the same year she did The Notebook, which I will get into eventually this year, maybe Valentine's Day, who knows. But it's just crazy because of all the four main girls in this movie, she's the oldest one in real life, so it's just interesting to see a person who was well in her 20s at the time of this movie playing a teenage girl. But even for Rachel McAdams, she was able to break away from this mode, and she's a well-known actress and a great actress at that. And she did an excellent job at playing a mean teenage girl that's the head of her clique. Then you got Eliza Thornberry herself, Lacey Chabert, playing Gretchen, in which she gives the most famous line in this movie.
That is so fetch.
She's basically the second head plastic, and she's the one that knows all the secrets and all the gossip. And then when Katie's trying to get all the gossip, and Gretchen, she finally breaks, it is one of the funniest things in this movie. She's basically the one that's a little less secure than the other two girls. Then you got Amanda Seyfried, in which she plays Karen in another one of her earliest roles, where she plays Karen. She's the dumbest one. Not really much to her character, but she did make an impact for the little she had in this movie. And Amanda Seyfried is another person whose career took off even further after this movie. I mentioned Tina Fey. Not only did she write the script, but she's also in this movie, and she plays the teacher, the math teacher of Katie, in which she's kind of a mentor to her. She's trying to push her and basically not given to all the peer pressures and all the bullshit of being a teenage girl. And of course, Tina Fey brought some more of her fellow comedians in this movie, such as Tim Meadows, who plays the principal, and for what he's given in this film, he does leave an impact. He is an underrated funny man, if I must. Of course, her best friend, Amy Poehler, is in this movie, and she plays Regina George's mother, and she plays one of those mothers who wants to stay hip and wants to stay cool with all the kids. And Regina George is like, oh my God, Mom, stop embarrassing me. But like I said, just the cast and the writing of this film makes this movie work. And one of the MacGuffins in this movie is the burn book, in which it has all the secrets of everybody in this school. And then when Regina George, she basically shares it off to the rest of the school, and the whole school just goes ape shit. And then from then on, we finally go to the dance at the end of the movie, in which Katie, she wins, and then she just breaks the crown in half and shares it with everybody, which kind of falls in line with the overall theme of the movie. It's like, yes, you're in high school and it's a difficult time and everybody's trying to find out who they are, but at the end of the day, everyone is beautiful in their own little way and everyone is unique. And so why should, we all compete, but just be confined to whatever social status you are? I love this movie even more than I did 20 years ago. It's one of the funniest films I've seen in a while with adult eyes. It is definitely an iconic film in its own right. I'm gonna give Mean Girls the hands up emoji because it is a masterpiece. And until next time.
That is so fetch.
Gretchen, stop trying to make fetch happen. It's not going to happen.